Have you ever walked into a room and felt your energy shrink, like your presence suddenly didn't matter? What if the people making you feel invisible were only powerful because you allowed them to be? And what if the moment you stopped reacting was the moment you became untouchable? Let's talk about something most of us have felt, but few of us know how to handle: being made to feel small. When someone dismisses your words, mocks your ideas, or subtly questions your worth, it's not always loud or obvious. Sometimes it's in a sarcastic smile. Other times, it's a passive-aggressive remark that lingers in your mind long after the conversation ends. They do it thinking you'll accept it, that you'll stay silent, that you'll keep explaining yourself, shrinking yourself, proving yourself. But here's the truth. The moment you stop reacting, the illusion breaks. Because their control was never real, it was borrowed from your attention. Think of a shadow. It may look large, stretching far and wide, but it only exists because there's light. Remove the light and the shadow disappears. Or consider a venomous snake. Its power doesn't come from size, it comes from fear. But when the fear fades, so does its grip. The same principle applies to those who belittle you. They don't need to see you fail. They just need you to believe you're not enough. But the moment you stop shrinking, the moment you hold your ground, is the moment they see they were never that powerful. Because while they were busy trying to knock you down, you had a choice. You could engage in their drama or rise above it. And when you choose to rise, they feel it. That's the shift. That's the moment you become untouchable. So how do you deal with people who make you feel small, without arguing, without defending yourself, and without stooping to their level? Stay with me until the end, because the final insight will change how you respond to these situations forever. 1. Recognize their insecurity. Let's look at a scenario you've likely faced before. Someone makes a snide remark. Maybe they disguise it as a joke. Maybe it's a cold glance or a dismissive tone that cuts just deep enough to leave a bruise. At first you ask yourself, why would they say that? What did I do? But here's the reality. People who belittle others are often struggling inside. Their actions reflect them, not you. When someone puts you down, it's usually not about your flaws, it's about their own insecurity. Truly confident people don't need to make others feel small. They feel secure in who they are. But insecure people, they seek control through criticism. They mask their own self-doubt by projecting it onto you. This is where the wisdom of Stoicism becomes your shield. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." And that's the key. Don't stoop to their level. Don't argue, don't try to prove anything, and most of all, don't let their words define you. Instead, see their behavior for what it is, a reflection of their struggle, not a measurement of your worth. Let me share a real example. There was a man, let's call him James. Every time he succeeded at work, a colleague tried to cut him down. If James got praised by the boss, this person would smirk and say, "Let's see if you can keep it up." If James offered a great idea, the response was, "Interesting, but we need something more serious." At first, James took it personally. He started questioning himself. Maybe I'm not good enough, he thought. But over time, he realized something important. This colleague wasn't attacking him because he was failing. They were attacking because James was thriving. So what did James do? He stopped reacting. He didn't argue. He didn't explain. He didn't play the game. Instead, he poured his energy into his growth. He focused on his work, his path, his purpose, and gradually his colleagues' words lost their weight. Because when you stop giving insecure people the reaction they crave, they lose their grip on you. So, next time someone tries to make you feel small, remember, first, recognize what's really happening. Their words come from their insecurity, not your inadequacy. Second, don't take the bait. Stay composed, stay grounded, and finally, keep rising. Because the strongest response isn't loud, it's progress. So, we've just learned that the way others treat you often says more about them than it does about you. Now, let's build on that truth with something even more powerful, your ability to remain unshaken. 2. Stay unshaken by their words. There's a quiet strength that separates those who are easily rattled from those who remain steady. It's the strength to stay grounded when others throw words like stones, hoping you'll stumble. It's the art of remaining still when everything in you wants to react. We've all been in that moment. Someone makes a rude comment. Maybe it's a sarcastic jab disguised as humor, or a harsh critique designed to cut deep. Your first instinct, to defend yourself, to explain, to prove you're better than what they're trying to paint you as. But here's the thing. Their words only have power if you give it to them. When someone insults you or tries to bring you down, they're often fishing for something, a reaction. They want you to feel insecure, to second-guess yourself. Because once you react emotionally, they've gained control, not over your life, but over your state of mind. But what if, instead of reacting, you did something unexpected? What if you stayed calm, unshaken? What if you refused to hand them the power they're so desperately trying to take? This is exactly where Stoic wisdom becomes your armor. Marcus Aurelius said, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it." In other words, it's not their insult that hurts you, it's how you interpret it. If you see their criticism as petty, it becomes irrelevant. If you view their negativity as noise, it fades into the background. You decide how much space their words occupy in your mind. You choose whether they echo us or disappear. Let me give you a real-life example. There was a man, let's call him David. David worked with someone who constantly criticized him. No matter how well he performed, this person had something negative to say. A backhanded comment here, a passive dig there. At first, it got under his skin. He found himself replaying the words over and over, wondering what he'd done wrong. Why was this happening? Why him? Then, one day, David asked himself a better question. Why am I letting this person steal my peace? And with that awareness, everything shifted. He stopped playing the game. When the person made a sarcastic remark, David just smiled. When they criticized his work unfairly, he didn't explain. He let his results speak for themselves. Over time, something unexpected happened. The critic lost interest, because when someone throws negativity and you don't respond with emotion, when you stay calm and unshaken, they lose what they were, after control. So how do you build this kind of emotional strength? First, remind yourself their words are just noise. They don't define you. Second, stay calm. Don't let their chaos infect your peace. And third, keep your focus on what truly matters, your purpose, your growth, your values, because the most powerful person in the room isn't the loudest. It's the one who doesn't flinch. And as you develop this inner stillness, you begin to realize true strength isn't about overpowering others. It's about not being overpowered by them. So far, we've learned that when you stop reacting, you take away their power. You remain calm, composed, in control. But what if you could go one step further and show them that their words don't even register on your radar? Number 3, respond with indifference. Let's talk about one of the most disarming tools you'll ever use when someone tries to belittle you. Indifference. When someone mocks you, criticizes you unfairly, or throws subtle jabs to make you feel small, they aren't just speaking, they're testing you. What they really want is to see you react. They want to see the discomfort in your eyes, the defensiveness in your voice, the self-doubt in your posture. Why? Because to them, your reaction equals power. But what if you gave them nothing? No anger, no flinch, no response. Just calm, steady indifference. That's when everything changes, because nothing confuses and frustrates a belittler more than your complete lack of concern. Indifference takes away the one thing they crave most: emotional control over you. Here's the truth. Indifference is not weakness. It's a quiet kind of strength. The moment you stop caring about their opinions, their insults dissolve into thin air. You don't need to argue. You don't need to explain. And you definitely don't need to stoop to their level. Instead, you stay grounded, unbothered, and uninterested. And that, more than anything, gets under their skin. Because insecure people can't stand being ignored. They thrive on attention. Take it away, and they lose their grip. Stoic wisdom reinforces this approach beautifully. Seneca once wrote, "Silence is a lesson learned through life's many sufferings." In other words, when you've lived, endured, and grown stronger, you learn. Not everything deserves your energy. Not every insult is worth a response, and not every battle needs to be fought. Sometimes the strongest move is to stay silent, to keep your peace intact while they waste theirs. Let me share a story to bring this to life. A man I know, we'll call him Alex, worked with a colleague who constantly tried to undermine him. This person would roll their eyes when Alex spoke in meetings, make sarcastic remarks, and subtly challenge his every move. At first, Alex felt the urge to fight back, to defend himself, to prove that he wasn't someone to mess with. But then, he took a different path. He stopped reacting. When the coworker made rude comments, Alex didn't even blink. He kept his face neutral, focused on his work. He refused to feed the fire, and slowly, the dynamic shifted. With no reaction to feed off of, the coworker became visibly frustrated. The attempts to belittle Alex lost their edge because they no longer got a reward. Eventually, the criticism stopped altogether. So, how can you respond to people like this? First, remind yourself, their behavior is a reflection of them, not you. Second, don't give them your energy. Don't flinch, don't feed the fire. And third, stay rooted in your peace. Let them waste their breath while you build your future. And as you begin to master this calm defiance, there's one more tool to explore, one final mindset shift that seals your emotional freedom. So we just explored the power of indifference, how staying calm and unshaken drains their control over you. Now, let's take it further. What if you didn't just ignore them, but outgrew them entirely? Sure, 4, let your actions speak. There's one response more powerful than silence, more powerful than clever comebacks or emotional restraint. It's when you prove them wrong without saying a single word. When someone belittles you, when they try to make you doubt yourself, the natural impulse is to argue, to defend your worth, to explain why they're wrong. But here's the truth. Arguments rarely change minds. Words don't erase judgment, but actions, they do. You don't need to convince anyone of your value. You don't have to fight every doubter. Let your success do the talking. Let your progress deliver the message. Because when you rise, when you build, when you grow, when you win, their opinions become irrelevant, empty, forgotten. Here's the reality. People who belittle others are trying to plant seeds of doubt. They want to see you stumble, second guess, hesitate. But the moment you stop giving them your attention and focus on your path, you take their power away. Every goal you hit, every challenge you overcome, every quiet win you earn, it chips away at their narrative until there's nothing left of it. And that's where Stoicism shines. Epictetus once said, "Don't explain your philosophy. Embody it." In other words, stop telling people what you believe. Live it. Don't waste time convincing others what you're capable of. Show them. Let your results speak louder than anything you could ever say. Let me tell you a story. There was a man, let's call him Daniel. He was constantly underestimated. People laughed at his ambition, mocked his goals, dismissed his dreams. At first, he wanted to argue back, to prove he was serious, to defend his worth. But then he made a quiet decision. He'd stop explaining and start building. He ignored the mockery, tuned out the noise, and poured his energy into growth. Day by day he worked in silence, and slowly, success followed. Over time, something remarkable happened. The same people who once laughed at him stopped laughing. They became quiet, curious, even envious. He didn't win them over with words. He won with action. So how do you deal with people who try to make you feel small? First, stop explaining yourself. You owe no one an apology for being who you are. Second, shift all your energy toward progress. Let them talk. You build. And third, trust in the process. Because success always speaks louder than any insult. You don't need to convince them. You don't even need to address them. Just keep rising higher than they ever imagined. That's the kind of response that can't be debated. In the last section, we saw that your actions, your success, can silence even the loudest critics. But what if you could prevent their influence from even reaching you in the first place? Yive. Set firm boundaries. Let's talk about one of the most essential tools for protecting your peace. Setting boundaries. Clear, unshakable, unapologetic. When someone repeatedly undermines you, questions your worth, or tries to chip away at your confidence, you're faced with a decision. You can either tolerate it and let it drain your spirit day by day, or you can draw a line and reclaim your power. Here's a hard truth. Self-respect means refusing to remain in spaces where you're not valued. Some people thrive on making others feel small because it gives them a false sense of control. They'll ignore your discomfort, test your limits, see just how far they can go before you finally say enough. And if you don't set that limit, they will keep pushing. Why? Because silence looks like permission. But when you do draw the line, when you calmly firmly make it clear that disrespect has no place in your life, everything changes. That's when you stop playing defense and start owning your space. This is exactly what Stoicism teaches us. Epictetus once said, "The more we value things outside our control, the less control we have." If you're constantly chasing approval from people who don't even respect you, you've already surrendered something sacred, your self-worth. If you keep tolerating toxic behavior just to avoid conflict, you're paying for someone else's comfort with your own peace. But when you set firm boundaries, without guilt, without over-explaining, you send a clear message. I value myself enough to walk away from what hurts. Let me share a story that brings this to life. There was a woman, let's call her Sarah. Every time she opened up about her goals, her progress, her hopes, a friend would respond with subtle jabs. "Oh, that's cute." Or, I guess that's impressive. For you. At first, Sarah tried to brush it off. She smiled, laughed nervously, told herself maybe she was imagining things. But deep down, she knew this wasn't a joke. It was a pattern of belittlement. And one day, she stopped pretending it didn't bother her. She stopped engaging, stopped defending. Most importantly, she distanced herself from the negativity, and in that moment, something lifted. No more second-guessing. No more trying to win approval from someone who enjoyed making her feel small, because she had finally chosen herself. So how do you set boundaries that actually protect you? First, understand this. You don't owe anyone access to your time, energy, or emotional space. Just because someone's been in your life a long time doesn't mean they've earned the right to stay. Second, stop explaining yourself to people who've shown they don't respect you. A real boundary doesn't require a speech. It requires consistency. And finally, walk away when necessary. Distance isn't cold, it's powerful. It sends the message that your peace is not up for debate. In the end, people learn how to treat you by watching what you tolerate. So if someone constantly tries to make you feel small, ask yourself, are they really worth the space they occupy in your life? Previously, we explored the power of setting boundaries, of refusing to remain in places where your value isn't seen or respected. Now let's take the final leap, transforming negativity into unstoppable fuel for your rise. 6. Turn their negativity into fuel. This is one of the most powerful mindset shifts you can ever make. Instead of letting others' negativity weaken you, let it ignite you. When someone mocks your dreams, questions your ability, or tries to make you feel small, you face a crucial choice. You can internalize it, let it weigh you down, or you can convert it into momentum. The truth is, weak people let criticism crush them, but strong people, they treat every insult, every snide comment, every ounce of doubt as fuel, a reason to go further, push harder, and rise higher. Because the best way to silence your critics isn't with arguments, it's with results. Most people who try to tear others down are projecting their own insecurities. They gave up on themselves, so they want to see you give up too. They stopped believing, so they want to convince you it's not worth believing either. But when you take that same negativity and use it as motivation, you do something they never expected. You rise. Instead of folding under pressure, you channel it. You let their doubt sharpen your focus. You let their cruelty strengthen your resolve. You let their limitations remind you of your potential. And here, again, Stoicism gives us timeless guidance. Seneca once said, "Difficulties strengthen the mind, as labor strengthens the body." Think of it like lifting weights. Every insult, every obstacle, every moment of adversity is resistance. And resistance, when embraced, builds strength. Every time someone says you can't and you keep going, that's mental strength. Every time they try to discourage you and you keep building, that's quiet resilience. Let me share a story. There was a man, we'll call him Jake. From the beginning, people doubted him. When he told his family he wanted to start a business, they laughed. "You? Running a business? Good luck with that." When he opened up to friends about his goals, they dismissed him. Come on, be realistic. But Jake didn't let their laughter or dismissiveness slow him down. Instead, he used it. Every insult became an internal spark. Every doubt became a silent vow to prove them wrong. He worked, he pushed, he grew, and eventually something incredible happened. The same people who once doubted him started asking for advice. They no longer mocked his vision, they wanted to understand how he did it. Because Jake didn't just prove them wrong, he outgrew their expectations. So, how can you turn negativity into power? First, stop taking their words personally. Their doubt reflects their mindset, not your potential. Second, reframe every insult. Don't let it sting. Let it energize you. Think, "Thank you for the motivation. I needed that." And third, stay focused on your own growth. Don't seek revenge. Let your results speak. Let your life become the proof, because when you use their negativity to climb higher, you take back the story. You don't just survive, you transform. In the last part, we talked about transforming negativity into the very fire that drives your growth. Now, let's explore a crucial decision that can either amplify that growth or quietly destroy it over time. 7. Surround yourself with those who uplift you. One of the most important choices you'll ever make is who you let into your circle. Because the people around you don't just influence your mood, they shape your mindset, your beliefs, and your future. Every relationship you keep is either watering your growth or slowly draining it. Some people lift you higher. They encourage your dreams, challenge your limits, and remind you of your worth, even when you forget it. Others, however, tear you down with subtle doubt, backhanded comments, or constant negativity dressed up as realism. Here's a simple truth. The right people will never need to belittle you to feel better about themselves. They'll see your value clearly, and they'll want to see you win. If someone constantly undermines your confidence, dismisses your efforts, or drains your energy every time you rise, it's not your responsibility to change their perspective. It's your responsibility to protect your peace. Because your environment isn't neutral, it's shaping you whether you realize it or not. Spend enough time around people who doubt you, and soon you'll start doubting yourself. But surround yourself with people who believe in your vision, and you'll start to believe in it more too. This is where Stoic wisdom offers timeless clarity. Seneca once said, "Associate with those who will make a better man of you." In other words, choose your circle wisely. Surround yourself with people who inspire action, who celebrate your wins without envy, who remind you of your potential when you feel stuck, who challenge you not to prove yourself, but to become yourself. Let me share a story. There was a woman, let's call her Emily. For years, Emily was surrounded by the wrong crowd. Whenever she opened up about her ambitions, her friends would respond with doubt. Are you sure you can handle that? That sounds risky. Maybe just play it safe. They never outright insulted her, but their skepticism was constant, quiet, persistent, and enough to make her question herself. So she played small. She held back. She hesitated. Until one day she made a decision. She changed her circle. She began spending time with people who didn't just tolerate her dreams. They championed them. They encouraged her to dream bigger, to take action, to stop second-guessing herself. And with that shift, everything changed. She started moving forward, taking bold steps, and showing up in the world with a confidence she had buried for years. So, how can you build the right environment for your growth? First, pay close attention to how people make you feel. After spending time with them, do you feel energized or depleted? Do they make you feel seen and supported, or small and unsure? Second, be willing to let go of toxic connections, even if they've been in your life for a long time. Familiarity is not the same as value. And finally, actively seek out those who inspire you, people who challenge you to rise, who reflect your future, not your past. Because at the end of the day, your circle is either your cage or your launch pad. And in our final segment, we'll bring everything together. One last reminder of the quiet, unshakable strength you hold when you choose yourself. Shall we close it out in the last part? We uncovered the transformative power of choosing the right circle, people who uplift, inspire, and push you forward. But even with the best support system, there's one truth you must carry at your core. Your worth is not determined by others. But remember your own worth. This is one of the most important truths you can ever internalize. No one can make you feel small unless you let them. Yes, people will judge. Yes, they'll criticize, mock, or dismiss your value. But the impact of their words, that depends entirely on you, because how others treat you is a reflection of them, their mindset, their insecurities, their limitations. But how you respond, that's a reflection of your self-respect, your self-belief, and your inner strength. If someone tries to belittle you, the only way their words gain power is if you allow them to settle into your mind. Let them take root, and they'll grow into doubt. But stand tall in your self-worth, and their opinions lose all meaning. Here's the reality. People can say anything they want. They can call you unworthy, unqualified, incapable. But does that make it true? Of course not. If someone says you're not capable, does that erase your experience, your talents, your potential? Absolutely not. Their words only carry weight when you decide they matter more than your own truth. And that's where self-respect steps in. When you truly know your value, when you've defined it for yourself based on your growth, your intentions, your integrity, outside voices become background noise. Stoic wisdom echoes this deeply. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "A man's worth is no greater than his ambitions." In other words, your value is not measured by public opinion. It's measured by your purpose, by what you strive toward, by the character you build in silence, by the vision you refuse to let go of, even when others can't see it. If you're working towards something meaningful, if you're showing up for your future, committed to growing and evolving, then no one has the authority to define your worth. But your value isn't something others give you. It's something you claim. And once you do, no opinion, no matter how loud, can take it from you. Let me share a story. There was a man I knew, we'll call him Ryan. Ryan worked in an environment where he was constantly underestimated. No matter how hard he worked, how consistently he delivered, there was always someone ready to downplay his efforts. Someone who acted as if his contributions didn't matter, as if his voice didn't belong. For a while, it got to him. He started questioning himself, wondering if maybe they were right. But then he paused and he asked himself, why am I letting people who don't even know my journey define my worth? That moment changed everything. He stopped trying to prove himself. He stopped seeking validation from those who never intended to give it. And instead, he grounded himself in his own truth. His confidence returned, not from external praise, but from internal clarity. And over time, those same people who once dismissed him faded into the background. Because once you stop seeking permission to feel worthy, no one can take it from you. So how do you hold on to your worth? First, remind yourself daily that their words are not facts. Second, anchor your identity in your effort, not their approval. And third, remember, your value is not up for negotiation. It's a decision you make and a truth you live. In the last part, we explored the importance of knowing your worth, of refusing to let others define your value. Now let's bring it all together with one final story and the ultimate reminder of what it means to stand tall in your truth. There was a time when Ryan let the opinions of others get inside his head. No matter how much effort he gave, how committed he was, someone always had something to say to make him feel like he wasn't good enough. At first, he believed them. He second-guessed himself. He wondered, maybe they're right. But then came a moment of clarity. Why am I letting people who don't live my life control the way I see myself? And in that moment, everything shifted. He stopped chasing their approval. He stopped explaining his worth to people who never cared to understand it in the first place. Instead, he channeled that energy inward into his goals, his discipline, his growth. Day by day, he kept showing up. Quietly, consistently, unapologetically. And something amazing happened. The more he detached from their judgment, the more powerful he became. Not louder, but stronger. Not more aggressive, but more grounded. Because the moment he stopped needing validation was the moment he became unshakable. So, how can you remember your worth, especially in a world that's always trying to make you question it? First, remind yourself daily, you are not defined by what others say. You are defined by what you believe about yourself. Second, build your confidence through action. It's not about positive affirmations. It's about proving to yourself through effort that you are capable. Confidence is built when you show up for your goals, even when doubt whispers in your ear. And finally, never shrink yourself to make others comfortable. If someone tries to make you feel small, it's often because they feel threatened by your presence, your potential, your light. So, what should you do? Stand tall anyway. Walk in your truth anyway. Rise anyway. Because at the end of the day, your worth is not up for negotiation. It's not something anyone else gets to decide. It's yours, and yours alone. So stop seeking validation. Stop dimming your light to fit in. Start carrying yourself with the quiet, unshakable power of someone who knows exactly what they bring to the table. Because once you truly embrace your worth, no critic, no doubter, no voice of negativity will ever have the power to make you feel small again. And if this message resonated with you, Drop a thank God in the comments and give the video a like. It lets me know this kind of content speaks to you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for choosing to grow. And most of all, thank you for not giving up on the person you're becoming. Let's keep learning and rising together.